Spoilers ahead. The new Wheel of Time Season 3 teaser is packed with secrets. Rhuidean's glass columns, bubbles of evil, alternate realities from Moiraine, and glimpses of the past through Rand's eyes. We even see hints of another Darkfriend Social and Moiraine and Lan in Tar Valon, and that's just the beginning. This is Unraveling the Pattern. I'm Lauren. There's a lot to unravel, so check the description for a full spoiler warning, and let's dive in. Without the end titles, the teaser features 59 shots. One thing that stood out to me is the change in the aspect ratio compared to seasons 1 and 2. While those were shot in 16:9 widescreen HD, this teaser uses a more cinematic 2.39:1 ratio, similar to the Rings of Power show. This cinemascope or anamorphic widescreen look gives it a bigger, more cinematic feel. I'm not sure if this will carry over to the full season, but I'm hoping they stick with it. Now let's just hope they release it in 4K. Because I'm a bit obsessive, I also broke down the teaser by character screen time. While I can't guarantee all of my guesses are spot on, it looks to me like Moiraine appears in around 26 to 33% of the trailer, making her the most featured character. This isn't a huge surprise. Moiraine has been the central character of the show so far. I've loved Rosamund Pike's portrayal, but I've also voiced my hope that the story will shift toward the main book characters more. To me, this teaser signals that Season 3 will be a key passing of the torch season. Rosamund Pike has been the face of the show, and while I hope she remains involved as a producer, I believe it's time for Rand and the others to take center stage. Speaking of Rand, he comes in second, with roughly 25 to 31% of the shots. After her stellar performance in Season 2, it's no surprise that fan favorite Lanfear appears third, with around 10 to 13%. Lan is next, showing up in about 6 to 10% of the shots. After that, it's a tight race between several characters. I'm personally disappointed that Mat and Nynaeve seem to appear in just 1 to 2 shots each. I'll talk more about that shortly. But characters like Alanna, Liandrin, and even Siuan get more screen time than most of the core book characters. It's no secret that Rafe Judkins, the showrunner, has always had a strong focus on the White Tower and the Aes Sedai storylines, so it's clear to me we'll be diving deeper into the Black Ajah, the White Tower Coup, and the splitting of the tower. Gawyn and Perrin do appear a bit more than Mat and Nynaeve, and there are several new faces to discuss as well. But first, let's talk about the music and the dialogue. Whoever picked this song for the teaser deserves a raise. It's a brilliant choice. The original A Hazy Shade of Winter was written by Simon and Garfunkel and released in 1966. The version in the teaser is a remix of a 1987 cover by the Bangles. The lyrics featured in the teaser are, "Time, time, time, see what's become of me, weaving time in a tapestry. Time, 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 look around, leaves are brown, and the sky is a hazy shade of winter. Time, time, time." How perfect is that? A song about time and the weaving of time in a tapestry. I can't help but wonder if Robert Jordan was influenced by this track when he created the Wheel of Time. Other lyrics from the original song that stand out to me are, "Hang on to your hopes, my friend. That's an easy thing to say. But if your hopes should pass away, simply pretend that you can build them again. Seasons change with the scenery. Weave in time in a tapestry. Won't you stop and remember me?" These lyrics feel like they were made for this upcoming season and the characters' struggles. I think of their fight against the shadow, how often their hopes seem to fade, and yet they keep pushing forward, doing the best they can with what they have. I love the lyric about stopping to remember me, because clearly Season 3 will feature scenes from Book 4 when Rand goes through the glass columns in Rhuidean and experiences the past of his ancestors' lives. He will stop to remember the past, which is a huge theme for this upcoming season. The first dialogue we hear in the teaser is from an unknown voice, probably Siuan Sanche, saying, "The world is changing." The theme of the song fits perfectly with this, as it's all about change, how time marches on and hopes can fade, yet new seasons always come. It also brings to mind Moraine's opening line from the show.
"The world is broken."
At the start, that was true, but now the dragon has been reborn. Whether that's a good thing or not remains to be seen, but one thing's clear. The world is changing, and Rand is at the center of it. Remember at the end of Season 1, Ishamael told Rand,
"You can remake the world in your image. Make it whatever you want it to be."
Both that line and these lyrics feel to me like they're echoing the endgame themes of the Wheel of Time, which I love. The remaining dialogue in the teaser is sparse. We hear Siuan speaking. She says, "Who knows how deep the shadow's roots have taken hold here?" It's nice to hear her say the shadow instead of the dark. For some reason in Season 2, they always called it the dark instead of the shadow, and I'm always happier when they use terms from the books. The implication seems clear. Siuan is discussing the Black Ajah and the shadow's influence on the White Tower. Very likely with Egwene, but possibly with Nynaeve and maybe Elaine as well. In The Dragon Reborn, Book 3, Siuan recruits Nynaeve and Egwene to hunt the Black Ajah, and they eventually bring Elaine into the fold. I believe the reveal of the Black Ajah from The Dragon Reborn, Book 3, and the Tower Coup, which occurs in The Shadow Rising, Book 4, will likely happen early in Season 3 and will probably be combined into one storyline. The remaining dialogue is from Moiraine, and honestly, it feels very spoilery for non-book readers. She seems to be talking to Lan when she says, "I have seen 1,000,000 futures, and every future where I live, Rand dies, and the only way he lives is if I don't." There's been speculation about whether Moiraine will be killed or taken down by Lanfear in the show, similar to what happens in the Fires of Heaven. If this teaser is taken at face value, it seems clear that something will happen between Moiraine and Lanfear, and Moiraine will need to step aside or die for Rand to survive. It could be a red herring, but I genuinely hope it's true. I believe this scene from Season 2 was foreshadowing the eventual possibility of the scene between Moiraine and Lanfear entering a doorway. As for the rest of the dialogue, the teaser makes it clear for book readers that Moiraine will experience thousands of visions of possible futures when she enters the rings in Rhuidean, just as she does in The Shadow Rising. We'll dive into this more as we break down the shots. The final dialogue line also comes from Moiraine. I believe she's speaking to Rand when she says, "You cannot afford to fail again." However, this really could be directed at anyone. I like the idea that Moiraine and Rand might discuss his past life as Lews Therin Telamon and how he failed the world by nearly breaking it when he allowed the Dark One to corrupt the male half of the One Power. While this teaser doesn't give direct evidence of any of this, I hope Season 3 will be the one where we finally get a clearer explanation of the differences between the male and female halves of the One Power. Maybe these themes will be explored through the visions that Rand, Egwene, and even Moiraine experience. You can even see in this shot in the teaser an example of female and male statues. Could this be a shot from the Age of Legends? Speaking of the shots, let's get into each individual shot. The showrunner has confirmed Season 3 will follow the books more closely than before, focusing mainly on Book 4, The Shadow Rising, my favorite in the series. This teaser definitely reflects that. In this first shot, we see the mysterious Aiel city of Rhuidean, shrouded in fog with ancient buildings peeking through. Aiel's spears surround the city. Rand is here, carrying a sword on his back, possibly Heron-marked, though his original blade was destroyed in the fight with Ishamael at the end of Season 2. Other clips show him with a sword, and what appears to be his father's scabbard and sheath, which makes me wonder how he gets this new blade. We also see Aiel warriors in their shufas, including a towering man I hope is Rhuarc, and these two figures are likely wise ones. Moiraine and Lan are here too. Mat and Egwene, however, are notably absent, though this could possibly be Egwene here. Unfortunately, Mat's storyline had to diverge due to the actor change after Season 1. So even though this season will likely align better with the books, it's likely that Mat won't travel to Rhuidean or the Aiel Waste at all, but will instead join Nynaeve, Elaine, and possibly Min in Tanchico. But we'll get to that. I also noticed that there appears to be a wall around the city. Next, we see Moiraine floating upside down with sand on her face, likely part of the vision she'll experience when entering the rings in Rhuidean. At the heart of the city are two ter'angreal with different purposes for the Aiel, the glass columns and the rings. The glass columns are for those with Aiel blood, such as clan chief or wise one candidates. Men who enter the columns see the Aiel's past through their ancestors' eyes, but only 1 in 3 survive. Those who do emerge with a single dragon tattoo on their forearm, and they become clan chiefs. Women seeking to become wise ones will also eventually pass through the glass columns, but first they must pass through the rings to become a wise one apprentice. The rings are kind of similar to the accepted test arches in the White Tower. Women who enter see countless variations of their futures based on possible decisions. This is likely what Moiraine is experiencing in many of the clips in this teaser, where she describes seeing thousands of futures where Rand will die if she lives. The sand on her face suggests that this is probably one of her last moments inside of the rings, because we see Rand carrying her away from Rhuidean later, covered in sand. Another similar shot shows her floating without sand, possibly hinting at an earlier stage of her visions. I believe these scenes may be presented like the flashes of Nynaeve's false experience in the third arch during her accepted test in Season 2. I suspect this awesome shot comes from the Age of Legends. Notice behind these 3 statues we see windows featuring the same symbol found on the Amerlin seat and the floor of the Hall of the Tower. I tried comparing this architecture to the Age of Legends flashback in Season 1, but couldn't find anything definitive. I believe the statues represent male and female Aes Sedai. This one might have a beard, making a gesture that mirrors the female statue across from it. This likely represents saidin, the male half of the One Power, while the other represents saidar, the female half. The central statue may symbolize both powers coming together to form the ancient Aes Sedai symbol. And don't get me started on whether these are accurate or not compared to the 69-shaped version of this symbol from the books. I also love the sheer size of this room. One of my minor gripes from earlier seasons is that the White Tower interiors often feel too small, clearly sets on a soundstage. Obviously that's what they are, but in the Wheel of Time Origins episodes from Season 1, we see these vast, open interiors of the White Tower. I hoped for more of that in the show. If this scene is from the Age of Legends, it makes sense that the White Tower in the present would feel much smaller and less grand compared to the Hall of the Servants from that era. Budgets are a thing, and concept art always looks better than reality, but it's nice to see something on this scale here. These people seem to be wearing clothing distinct from modern Aes Sedai attire, and we see both men and women together. This figure might be Lews Therin or another male Aes Sedai, possibly even one of the Forsaken. The others could be Da'Shain Aiel, the servants of the Aes Sedai. Their uniforms might be a potential version of Cadansor, the working clothes of the ancient Aiel. In a recent interview, Alexander Karim, Lews Therin, revealed that he didn't film in Prague for Season 3, but recorded voiceover. However, I'm hopeful that perhaps he shot some scenes maybe on a green screen for Season 3 while he was working on Gladiator 2. This raises the question though, if he won't actually be in the show other than his voice, will we break tradition and skip an Age of Legends flashback at the start of the season finale? Instead, this could be one of Rand's visions as he relives moments from his Aiel ancestors' lives. In the book, these visions stretch back to the Age of Legends, including the creation of the Boar and the discovery of the Dark One. If this is the Hall of the Servants, the Aes Sedai's power center in the Age of Legends, we might finally see more of their politics and the pivotal decisions that led to the corruption of saidin and the breaking of the world. In this shot, we see Moiraine and Lan in Tar Valon, where it's raining, with Moiraine seemingly looking up at the White Tower. I spent way too much time analyzing the backgrounds of this teaser, cross-referencing with footage I took when visiting many of the Season 2 sets in Prague last year. Fun fact, I stood almost in this exact same spot. Comparing this set to that footage confirms this location, and they even turned on the rain machines so we could experience Tar Valon in the rain. I believe this scene is not part of one of Moraine's visions, but rather a real moment where she and Lan return to Tar Valon, though possibly not to the tower itself. Remember, in Season 1, Moiraine swore an unbreakable oath not to return home unless called back by Siuan Sanche. However, given the flexibility of the three oaths, Moiraine could easily interpret home as the tower, not the city, or somewhere else, or perhaps Siuan Sanche has indeed called her back. As for what's taking place here, I suspect this occurs early in the season, and I really hope it provides closure and more explanation about what happened between Moiraine and Siuan at the Waygate in Season 2. A later teaser shot hints that they may meet again in their secret happy place, inspired by Siuan's old home in Tyr from Season 1. If I'm right, these portals might lead to a pocket location in ter'angreal. If so, I wouldn't be surprised if Lanfear tracks them here. In one quick clip, we see Moiraine seemingly enjoying herself in bed with someone, only to be startled when she realizes it's Lanfear and she's choking her. While Moraine's clothing and the set don't fully match, it's intriguing that the scene shifts so abruptly. This is probably part of one of Moraine's visions, but it's possible there's a connection between this moment and the scene with Moiraine and Siuan. Remember, Lanfear always has short hair when we see her in ter'angreal, but she has longer hair when we see her in the real world. Regarding Moiraine and Siuan, I believe much of their conflict in Season 2 was a ruse, not just for Lanfear and others, but for the audience too, and I'm hoping for closure. If you're curious, I dive into this theory in my Episode 7 Unraveled video. I also suspect Moiraine will be in Tar Valon early in the season, and that the Tower Coup might result in her taking Egwene from the tower, possibly to the waste, while Nynaeve, Elaine, and Mat head to Tanchico. This next shot shows Rand with noticeably different hair, wearing what looks like Age of Legends style clothing, similar to Ishamael's attire in other scenes. Leaked images I won't share here showed Rand in this outfit walking through a very Age of Legends looking location, strongly suggesting this is part of his glass column visions. I wonder if this uniform might be the Da'Shain Aiel Cadansor. It does look sort of similar to me to what Couladin is wearing later in the teaser. Based on comments from Rafe Judkins, it's believed Yosha will portray different people in Rand's visions, using costumes and prosthetics rather than having multiple actors. Later in the teaser, we see Yosha dressed as Janduin, Rand's true father, in a scene seemingly set just before Tam took baby Rand from his mother after she died on Dragonmount. While this isn't in the books, I think it's a brilliant way to explore Rand's ancestry and to deepen his connection to the Aiel, tying it back to the incredible scene with his mother from Season 1. This moment gives me goosebumps and gets me so hyped for Season 3. Back to this shot. Rand, or whoever he's portraying, gives off an unsettling, almost evil vibe to me. Later there's an intense moment showing evil Rand following Lanfear, which I'll discuss soon. While I don't think these scenes are directly connected, I believe this could be Rand as his ancestor Charn, a Dashine Aiel who served Lanfear before she became a Forsaken. This might even be from the vision showing the creation of the boar and the shattering of the Sharom at the Kolam Dawn. Then we have Lan looking angry. The white sand in the background leads me to believe this shot takes place near the end of the season, when Rand and the Aiel will be at Alcair Dal, and Rand will reveal himself to be he who comes with the dawn. There are more shots of this later in the teaser, which we'll get to. Perhaps Lan is getting ready to fight Couladin, or one of the Forsaken here. Next, we see Liandrin in full red Ajah attire, her Aes Sedai ring clearly visible, but she's wearing a veil in a room filled with others, many also veiled or with faces partially covered. I initially thought this might be another Darkfriend Social, but it could be a scene in Tanchico, where the Black Ajah flee after leaving the White Tower. I can't identify most of the people here, but notice this little person in the background. Possibly Naomi Sedai, the brown sister who welcomed Varen back to the tower in Season 2? Remember, there was a little person at the Darkfriend Social in Season 2. Could it have been her? This actually feels closer to me to how I imagine the Darkfriend Social scene in The Great Hunt, where the man who calls himself Bors observes a gathering of people from various cultures, including an unmasked Aes Sedai. The mix of clothing styles here stands out to me, and this woman even seems to have a Shan-Chen-like haircut, similar to the Blood in Season 2. Later in the teaser, we see Moghedien, likely part of this same scene. The candles in the background match. Her Age of Legends style clothing and bad haircut aside, it's hard to imagine Moghedien leading this gathering the way that Ishamael does in The Great Hunt. She's the spider, preferring the shadows. I hope we see her playing at being a serving maid and humiliating Liandrin after revealing herself, just like in the books. Here is Elaine, in novice white, putting on what appears to be the rose crown of Andor. At one point I thought we might see Elaine back in Andor in Season 3, but the windows and pillar behind her clearly place her in the White Tower. These details match locations like the Hall of the Tower and Swan's study. This could be a part of Elaine's accepted test. Another possibility is that her brothers and Elida arrive in Tar Valon early in the season, perhaps assuming Queen Morghese is dead, and bringing the crown to Elaine. Since Queen Morghese has been cast for Season 3, I'm curious how much of her storyline we'll see. I wouldn't mind simplifying the Andor succession plot and making Elaine queen earlier, as long as she still goes to Tanchico and follows her other book arcs. After all, we need 3 seasons of Elaine in the menagerie. At first glance, I thought this was Siuan and Egwene, but it's clear to me now that this is actually Liandrin and Lanfear of all people, sitting higher on the arm of the seat, implying an interesting power dynamic. Why would Liandrin and Lanfear be here in the Hall of the Tower? Is it possible that Liandrin will try to become the Amyrlin instead of Elida? Or is this Elida? Next, we see Moiraine channeling through what seems to be a ter'angreal sphere, likely found in Rhuidean. The weaves appear to be air, shown in yellow. While there was a leak about this scene, I'll avoid spoilers. I suspect this sphere will replace the female Chodan Kal statue, giving Moiraine a significant power boost. This might even explain why Lanfear is after her. With this, she could even challenge the creator. I'm curious about this platform in the Aiel Waste. It almost resembles a sort of ceremonial altar. This is interesting to me since nothing like this exists in the books. I suspect this scene happens later in the season, after Moiraine returns from Rhuidean but remains in the Aiel Waste, possibly while the others are at Cold Rock's Hold. Next, we see a great shot of Siuan, Lyanna, and an unknown Aes Sedai activating what looks like the first arch for Egwene's accepted test. I doubt we'll see the Dream ter'angreal interference subplot from the Dragon Reborn, but I hope it's included. I wonder how much of Egwene's test we'll see. One later scene in the teaser where Egwene appears to be waking up next to Rand and looks startled to see him might be part of her accepted test, but I'll discuss that more when we get to it. This sequence seems to show Moiraine waking up in various visions from the rings in Rhuidean. Notice the blurry background here. It's similar to the background in a later shot with Egwene, suggesting to me that these scenes could be either visions or moments in Tel'aran'rhiod, the world of dreams. While I can't be certain these eye-opening shots are of Moiraine, they feel connected. The shot of her standing up might follow directly after she wakes up. Interestingly, she's wearing the same blue dress here that she has on in the scene with the ter'angreal. Could it be that she channels through the ter'angreal, collapses, and then wakes up later in the waste at this moment? We also get a brief glimpse of the glass columns in Rhuidean. This is likely Rand stumbling through them. His shoes seem to match those from other teaser shots. Look at his determined expression. I love how the wind seems to push against him as he ventures deeper into the columns. Let the dragon ride again on the winds of time. While these columns don't exactly match the book's description, I really like how they resemble large crystal pillars instead of smaller rods. I do wonder if they're positioned in concentric circles as they are in the books. This shot of Avendasora, the Tree of Life, at the heart of Rhuidean is breathtaking. You can even spot the tops of the glass columns nearby. Honestly, I wasn't sure we'd get Avendasora in the show, so seeing this was a delightful surprise. Look at that gorgeous canopy. I'd love to sit under that tree someday. Too bad we likely won't see Mat saved by Rand after being hanged from one of its branches. This is, sadly, the only clear shot of Nynaeve in the entire trailer, besides the wild one we'll get to later. Here, it's very likely she's entering the Hall of the Tower. The door and stone walls match the set from Season 1 when Nynaeve and Egwene reunited in the hall. Perhaps this is the scene where Nynaeve and Egwene will be recruited by Siuan to hunt down the Black Ajah. This shot of Egwene and Rand is very interesting. Rand's coat here matches what he's seen wearing in scenes that likely take place after Rhuidean, while his shirt seems to be the same as before. What stands out to me is Egwene's outfit. It doesn't feel like something she'd wear while training with the Wise Ones in the Waste. This makes me think it could be a dream, maybe a chance meeting in Tel'aran'rhiod, either accidental or intentional on Egwene's part, but I also think it could be from her accepted test, when she is Amyrlin and tries to save Rand from the Black Ajah. I love the details of the Aiel rug beneath them. Look at that snake pattern. It's our only hint at snakes and foxes, but I'll take it. Fingers crossed we'll see the Aelfin and Eilfin in the show. What do you think is happening here? Could this be another trick from Lanfear, who loves impersonating others in the world of dreams? Finally, we get to see Rand and Lan training together with the sword. This should have happened ages ago, like in Season 1, but better late than never. I think this scene likely takes place before they reach the Aiel Waste, maybe somewhere in Kinslayer's dagger or the Spine of the World. This later shot of Lan probably ties into this sequence. This next shot gives me major Dune vibes, with this person's cloak dramatically blowing in the wind. I'm pretty sure this is from later in the season, near Alcair Dal, the Golden Bowl, in the Aiel Waste. I love how the different landscapes of the Waste feel distinct. This sand almost looks like snow. You can spot people lining up in the distance, likely Aiel warriors, who show up again in another shot later. Here, Rand looks so tall compared to Moiraine. He still has his father's belt and scabbard, but this must be a new blade. Is it possible Aviendha will gift him this new blade? Moiraine is wearing the same outfit here that she's seen wearing in one of the floating shots. I think she's also wearing this same outfit when Rand carries her out at the end of the teaser. It's possible Moraine's wearing this same outfit in the teaser's opening shot as well, but it's hard to say for sure. Maybe they're seeking permission from the Wise Ones to enter Rhuidean. This shot of Moiraine dressed as the Amyrlin with Rand dying beside her is so intriguing. I can't tell if this blade has a Heron mark. Also, notice Rand's wound from the end of Season 2 has reopened. He's bleeding out. Blood on the wrong rocks. The fact that Moiraine is the Amyrlin is a huge clue, but to me the camera movement confirms that this, and the other shots with similar motion, are part of Moraine's thousands upon thousands of visions of possible futures. I'm guessing this is Aviendha, probably arriving near the valley where Rhuidean is located. This could be Cheandar, the mountain near Rhuidean where they arrive via Portal Stone in the books. They might arrive via Waygate instead, or simply just travel there through the Spine of the World. This could be a reveal of Cold Rock's hold, which we expect to see in Season 3, likely after Rhuidean but before Alcair Dal. Then we get more of Lanfear and Rand getting fresh. Hard to say what's going on here, but I think Lanfear's hair is longer. I wonder if she's appearing to him in a dream, but he thinks she's someone else, like Elaine or Egwene first. This really could happen at any point in the season, but I'm leaning towards this happening earlier, when Rand still has his blue shirt. The only other time we see Rand with a blue shirt is in this sword training sequence with Lan. Perhaps this happens in the same inn where Rand experiences a bubble of evil, which we'll get to. Another quick shot of Lanfear, very likely in the dream, as her clothing is more dressy and her hair is short. I wonder if she's talking with another of the Forsaken here. Also, is that a city in the background or just rocks or something? Next, we see 3 quick, disorienting shots with the camera movement suggesting they're part of a vision. First, Moiraine in bed is startled as Lanfear strangles her, almost as if she was with someone she trusted who became Lanfear. Then, in completely different clothing, likely in the waist, Moiraine is strangled from behind by Lanfear, who now has shorter hair and is wearing a sleek black silk dress. Finally, there's an upside-down shot of Moiraine crawling in the streets of Tar Valon, seemingly having her throat slit by Lanfear with a knife. When flipped, this shot clearly shows props and details matching the Tar Valon sets I saw during my visit in Prague. These sequences remind me of the rotating shots of Rand and Ishamael at the Eye of the World in Season 1. It seems like the show might use similar editing and cinematography here to depict Moiraine and Lanfear across various realities. While I was disappointed we didn't get a proper flicker sequence last season, this feels to me like a satisfying substitute. In another shot, Moiraine confides in Lan about her visions, telling him she believes she must die for Rand to survive. I'm guessing this pivotal moment takes place in the Aiel Waste, likely mid-season. Next, we see a series of quick shots featuring Alanna and her 2 warders by her side, presumably fighting against Liandrin and possibly other Black Ajah sisters in the streets of Tar Valon. I'm guessing this is part of the Tower Coup. Notably, Alanna's warder Ivan on her left has been recast. There's an additional shot in this teaser suggesting this confrontation turns tragic. Alanna appears to mourn the death of one of her warders, though it's unclear which of them might be killed as both are wearing similarly colored clothing. Also, one really cool detail about this shot is that Liandrin is literally transitioning from red to black in her outfit. The next shot is, hands down, my favorite of the entire teaser. I was convinced they'd skip the bubbles of evil entirely, though I thought maybe they'd reframe them as attacks by the Forsaken, which they still might do. But I'm thrilled to see that we are getting at least a version of Rand battling his reflections. The room is filled with other versions of him, and he's using weaves of fire to destroy them and the mirrors. There's a mirror here and possibly one over here as well. This scene looks incredible. I suspect it takes place in the same room where Rand is staying early in the season, either in Tar Valon or Cairhien. This could also be the same room where Lanfear visits him, tying these sequences together. There are several shots from this location, which I'm convinced is the Golden Bowl, or Alcair Dal, the iconic site where both Couladin and Rand declare themselves the prophesied Karakarn, or He Who Comes with the Dawn. Not only do we see a glimpse of dragon tattoos on Couladin's arms, but his clothing feels more like something a Forsaken might wear, rather than traditional Aiel garb to me. Could he be one of the Forsaken in disguise? Wouldn't it be interesting if they made Couladin Asmodean or one of the other Forsaken? We also get a clearer look at the Wise Ones and clan chiefs present, as well as the Aiel warriors who are lined up, watching as Rand drops his coat, likely revealing his own dragon tattoos. There are hints of these dragon tattoos in the official poster that was recently released. I am beyond excited for this scene. Interestingly, there are only 8 chairs here, suggesting that, much like reducing the number of Forsaken, the show may have simplified the number of Aiel clans as well, from 12, or 13 if you include the Gen Aiel, down to 8. We also catch another glimpse of Lanfear with her short hair and dramatic eyeliner, which continues to scream dream or vision to me. However, it's hard to pin down where or when this moment will take place. Moving along, we see what looks to be either Galad or Gawyn. I'm leaning towards Galad, appearing to challenge someone, hopefully Mat, to a practice sword fight in one of the White Tower gardens. Novices and possibly even an Aes Sedai are watching from the sidelines. I'm so excited at the prospect of finally seeing this iconic book scene come to life. Hopefully we'll also see Mat's luck kicking in this season too. Speaking of Mat, there's sadly only one good shot of him in the entire teaser, and it's tough to tell what's happening. It seems like there's blood or perhaps scarring on his neck. Could this be a nod to him being hanged? There was that eerie flash of an alternate version of Mat being hanged during his hallucinatory vision in Season 2. I'm holding out hope that this might be a hint at Mat visiting Sindal, the world of the snakes and foxes, through a redstone doorframe or two. Is that wishful thinking? Possibly, but it would be incredible to see. Also, is Mat still stuck in that same ratty robe, or has he finally updated his wardrobe? It's hard to say. Backing up a bit, we get this fantastic shot of Perrin's axe finally being forged. While I can't say for sure that this is Perrin, I'm hopeful. I do know that this is the Two Rivers Forge set. When I visited, I saw this exact anvil being used by a real blacksmith creating weapons there. This scene immediately reminds me of one of my favorite Perrin moments from the books, where he visits a forge to unwind in The Dragon Reborn, and he ends up helping the blacksmith as a temporary apprentice. I'm hoping for a similar vibe here, which would be a perfect foreshadowing for the eventual forging of Perrin's future weapon. Of all of the storylines in The Shadow Rising, my favorite is Perrin's return to the Two Rivers and the battles that take place there. This later shot where Perrin raises his completed axe during what is clearly a fight in the village has me so hyped. The half-moon blade and spike are beautiful. I've sometimes questioned why elements like this weren't introduced earlier in the show, but moments like these restore my faith in the production team. It's clear they're thinking long-term, weaving threads like this into the bigger pattern of the story at the right time for a television audience. What better moment to explore Perrin's axe versus hammer internal struggle than during the confrontation with the Shadow's armies and the White Cloaks in his own hometown? We also believe that some of the actors who play the Tuatha or traveling people might be returning, so Perrin's internal conflict between the Way of the Leaf and a more violent path will likely be a major theme this season. In fact, that might be Aram fighting behind Perrin in this shot. There also seems to be a White Cloak in the background, and while it's hard to be sure, this could even be Faile here. We get a clearer look at her in another shot where she and Perrin are kissing, probably in Perrin's home or the Winespring Inn. Coming back to this shot, notice Perrin's golden eyes. I'm thrilled to see them glowing here, and I really hope they remain consistently golden, just like Elias's. Hopper's death at the end of Season 2 might have been the emotional trigger that permanently activated Perrin's eyes, and I can't wait to see how they explore his wolf brother abilities this season. When I visited the Two Rivers set last year, I saw signs of the Battle of the Two Rivers everywhere. The town had been rebuilt, surrounded by a protective wall made of palisades, and there was a watchtower. For the tour, they even placed Trolloc corpses near the Winespring Inn. The Battle of the Two Rivers is most definitely happening in Season 3. And according to WatchSeries.com, Episode 7 will be entitled Goldeneyes. Are you as hyped as I am? Moving on, we see Min in what appears to be a room filled with old artifacts and animal skeletons. This could be in one of many locations in the books. It could be a storeroom in the White Tower, where ter'angreal are kept, or even the room that was mentioned in Season 2, where High Lord Turok kept the Horn of Valir and Falm. But my guess is that this is either in the Panarch's palace in Tanchico, or it's like a storeroom nearby. The animal heads and skeletons definitely have the feeling of the Panarch's palace. The only thing that's strange to me is how messy and crowded it is, which is why I think it could be a storeroom. The Panarch's palace is described as a sort of museum in the books. I tried to figure out what these different objects are, and I was especially hopeful to find some hint of a redstone doorframe, but alas, your guesses are as good as mine. Did you notice these tusks here? They almost feel like Shanchan artifacts. And look at this odd statue with a sphere. Could this be another piece or part of the Chodon Call that Moiraine has earlier in the teaser? Perhaps this is the male counterpart. It's wishful thinking, but I'm also thinking that maybe this odd thing on the wall back here is similar to one of the ter'angreal that Moiraine and Siuan use, but maybe this could be used to enter the land of the snakes and/or foxes. What do you think? We get a very quick look at this mystery woman. I've seen some speculation that this is Moiraine, a wise one and dreamwalker. She looks startled. Could she be meeting Egwene in Tel'aran'rhiod? There are rumors that Moiraine might replace Amis in the show. Gird your loins. Next, a quick shot of Egwene. The blurry background suggests this could be in the world of dreams, and her shorter hair matches other teaser clips. But I also wonder if maybe Egwene won't be in the Aiel Waste at the same time as Rand, Moiraine, and Lan. Remember in that first shot, Egwene wasn't necessarily present? Maybe Egwene will arrive in the Waste later. Anyway, we've already discussed Rand's visions in the glass columns and a quick flash of Yosha as Janduin, Rand's true father. I can't wait to see more of this and the other glass column scenes. Okay, this shot has me so hyped. I believe this is Moiraine here, crawling away from Lanfear through the ways. Moraine's hair appears shorter than in other shots. Notice again the camera movement and the similarity to other of Moraine's presumed visions. But what intrigues me the most about this shot are the people who appear to be with Lanfear. When I first saw the trailer, I assumed these were other Forsaken with Lanfear, and I got excited and brightened up the shot to see if I could tell who they were. I was shocked to realize that these are the Emmonsfield Five and Elaine and another mystery person that I can't quite place. At this moment, when lightning flashes, the details become more visible. It's clear that Rand has an evil grin on his face here. Egwene is here, and I believe she's wearing the mouth cover that the Shanchan Damane wear. Does this mean that in this alternate future, Egwene remains a Damane slave who serves Lanfear? Could this mean that Nynaeve, seen here, is Egwene's Soldam? Here we see Matt, and you can just make out the Shatter Logoth blade in his hand. And then we have Elaine, looking amazing as ever. And then this mystery person. Honestly, this looks like Moghedien to me, but it could also be Faile, or maybe even Min. Who do you think this mystery person is in this shot? Perrin has long hair and a long beard, and he has his axe. All of these characters appear to be wearing dark colors and styles that Lanfear often wears in the dream, but they feel to me like Age of Legends styles as well. Last but not least, we get these two beautiful shots of Rand carrying Moiraine through the desert. I'm convinced that this scene will take place after their experiences in Rhuidean. Look at Rand's 1,000-yard stare. They both barely made it out alive, and their perspectives on the world at large have changed forever. Duty is heavier than a mountain. These scenes reflect the poster that was also recently released. Watch my video about the poster for more information. I'm sad that we likely won't see Mat in Rhuidean, but thematically, I actually think this is stronger for the story that the show is trying to tell. Showing Rand carrying Moiraine out of the city through the desert feels right. Like I said, this feels to me like a passing of the torch season. I'm very hopeful that Rand and Moiraine will arrive back to the Aiel camp with the dawn. We did it. What did I miss? I hope that you enjoyed this video and that I've earned your subscription. Please help me out by liking, subscribing, and please consider supporting me on Patreon like these wonderful people. Keep your comments respectful, and until next time, let the dragon ride again on the winds of Prime.